In this video, we're going to learn how to factor a polynomial using factor by grouping. So the question we have here is factor the polynomial completely. 8k squared minus 16k minus 10. The very first thing you should always check when factoring a polynomial is if you can factor out a greatest common factor. So you look across the three terms, 8k squared, negative 16k, negative 10. They don't all contain a k, so k is not a common factor. They all have a common factor of 2. So the first step is to factor out the greatest common factor of 2. So now 8k squared divided by 2 would be 4k squared. Just double check that if you multiply 2 times 4k squared, you get 8k squared, which you do. Negative 16k divided by 2 would be minus 8k. And then minus 10 divided by 2 would be minus 5. Okay, now you have to keep that 2 on the outside throughout the entire problem. That is one of the factors, so it is part of the answer. So now we need to factor our trinomial in here. Now, there's two ways to factor. One is trial and error, and the other is called factor by grouping. Some people call it the master product. So what we do is we're going to take the first number times the last number. So 4 times negative 5. That equals negative 20. Now we want to find two numbers whose product is negative 20 and whose sum is negative 8, the middle term. So you want the sum to be that middle term here. So you can, think negative 20 times 1, that equals negative 20, but that sum does not equal negative 8. So that's not going to work. Negative 10 times 2, that's negative 20. And negative 10 plus 2 is negative 8. So we found the correct factorization here. So now what we're going to do is, just for this middle term, you keep the first term the same. Now you use the minus 10 and the 2 to break apart the middle term. So instead of writing negative 8k, you write minus 10k plus 2k. And then you keep the last term the way it is, minus 5. And now we're going to use factor by grouping. So we cut this right down the middle. Keep the 2 along for the ride. Now, what's the greatest common factor of the first half? 4k squared and negative 10k. That's 2k. Now we need to see what's left. We're only looking at the first half. 4k squared divided by 2k is 2k. Negative 10k divided by 2k is negative 5. Now the goal when we work on the second one is to try, the second half, is to try to make sure we have a 2k minus 5 left after we factor out the greatest common factor. Well, look what's there, a 2k minus 5. But you have to factor something out. Normally you would factor out the greatest common factor. And you would get, as long as you've done this middle step correctly, you would get what you're looking for. Now we already have 2k minus 5, but you have to factor something out, so we're going to factor out a 1. 1 is a common factor of every number and every expression. And we're left with 2k minus 5. Now notice we did get the 2k minus 5, which now the 2k minus 5 becomes the common factor, and you're left with 2k plus 1. So now we take out, first of all, bring the 2 down. We take out the 2k minus 5, and once we take that out, we write down what's left, 2k and plus 1. And that is our original trinomial completely factored.